welcome to this very well-planned, thoroughly thought-out session that is replacing another presenter who unfortunately couldn't make it. So I've been asked to go through, and what we decided we're going to do is today we are going to build a secret management vault provider from scratch, and we'll see how far we get. My goal today is to simply open up VS Code and from nothing, with no repository or anything, start a project, get a code spaces going, start getting all of our information that we need, and we're just going to go through the documentation that shows how to make one, and we'll see how far we get. I don't even know what we're going to provide a secret management provider for. I'm kind of thinking I may want to just have it just saved to JSON, just unencrypted JSON, just so you can see how it works, and then all you got to do is take the part that writes to JSON and replace it with whatever code writes to your preferred location. So that's what we're going to try to do today. First of all, thanks so much to all the sponsors who've been here. I know you've been hearing this all week, but it really is true. They make this happen. They really help the organization when they have a lot of issues, trying to plan these things. They're here for the community, and we're really happy that they've been here. Also, I very much appreciate everybody wearing masks. It's been really uplifting for me. I have a partner who's immunocompromised. And to see everybody just really thinking about others and taking care of people who aren't yourselves, I just really appreciate it. So thank you. About my company, Allied Digital, who graciously sponsored my travel to be here all the way from the United States. Allied Digital is a multinational MSP. We provide all kinds of consulting solutions. We use all kinds of PowerShell in both our internal operations and for our customers. If you want to see a really cool example of that, check out my recording on the Azure Functions Missing Manual. Otherwise, if you're looking for an IT provider, you can do much worse than us. So, again, my name is Justin Grote. I'm a PowerShell user for 15-ish years. Microsoft MVP ×3 has been pointed out to me. Big caveat asterisk there. They haven't been fully announced yet, but I'm pretty confident. I hope. Hopefully, my hubris doesn't get to me. I'm a data center solutions architect at Allied Digital, as I said. I kind of contribute to the VS Code extension. I'm going to skip those parts. That's my GitHub. That's my GISTs that are linked to my GitHub. Pretty much anything I make goes out there. Hopefully there's stuff that's useful to you. And that's where the slides are going to be after they're done. These really important slides that I put a lot of work into. And that's my Twitter handle. So if you want to get in touch with me or see what's going on with the stuff that I make, anything I make or stuff I answer in forums that I think is useful to other people, I post it on that Twitter. So check it out. Let's go. That's it. All right. So first of all, who here knows what secret management is? Excellent. Good. We're going to save a lot of time. The other thing is that with secret management, it's a real confusion around secret management, that secret management and the secret store are the same thing. A real common question I get is, hey, why should I use secret management when I have to put in my password every single time? Well, that's just the default implementation. And that's an implementation that works cross-platform. But the whole idea behind secret management is that it's an API, and in a way, it's just an interface. It's just a thin layer that is, a better way to put it is that it's a contract. It's a way to establish a contract between people who want to consume secrets and people who want to provide secrets. So most people are used to being the people who consume secrets, and you don't want to have to care, even in your script, where that secret comes from. You want the user to just be able to have a parameter that says get secret and the name of the secret and the vault. And you want to not have to care if it's from KeePass or it's from Bitwarden or if it's from the built-in secret store or if it's from Windows Credential Manager or if it's from the Chrome Credential Manager or if it's from your password manager of choice. You don't want to have to write all of those different things. So wouldn't it be great if we just had an abstraction that allows the community to provide those or the vendors to provide those, but you only have to write your script once, and then the user can choose whatever backend they want to. So that's great. But the other piece of that puzzle is you have to have people who actually write the backends. And so I've written a couple. I wrote one for KeePass. I wrote one for Chromium, where basically any password you have as a saved password in Chromium, you can use as a secret management password. The Azure teams provides an excellent one with Azure Key Vault. I wrote an additional wrapper, if you look out on my GISTs, for activating that. And I'll just see if I can pull that up real quick as a quick aside. If I have internet at all. This is going to be a real short presentation if I don't have internet. Did they finally get mad at me for my static IP that I overrode when it died the other day? Okay, that's good. We'll figure it out. Oh, there it is. Sorry. So I have down here this registry AZ Key Vault. So this thing, if you've ever tried to register a Key Vault, it's not really obvious how it works. But this makes it really simple, where you just get your key vault, pipe it into register key vault, and you have access. Yep, what's up? Bigger? Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. It's real. It's not complicated. But this is the example. So this is a function that you can download at my guests, and it basically just makes it so, takes all the boilerplate out of it. So you can literally just do this. Supports what if, of course, because I'm a zealot about supporting what if. Supports confirm, all that good stuff. So this is just an example, though. This is an example of just another nice addition to a registration. But what we're going to do today is we're going to build a secret management key vault. So one of the things when they were designing this is, in the early days, it was kind of like you had your choice of building it in either C# or PowerShell. And there was some friction, some things kind of went. So ultimately the design ended up being where, you know what, let's just make it so that we have these PowerShell functions that if you just implement these functions in your module, you're a PowerShell vault. And if you want to still have your C# portion of your module, you can still call those commandlets that you make, even if this is just like a little shim to it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to build a all script-based version of the key vault, or we're going to try to get as far as we can. So in lieu of a Q&A, this is an open Q&A. As I'm going through this, I'm open to questions. Just feel free to throw something out if you see something I'm doing, you have a question. Feel free to correct me if I'm clearly doing something stupid, because we're all in the weeds together on this one. I haven't written one of these in about 10 months. So I'm going to go through all the same mistakes that you do. And so we're going to try to go through the documentation and get it figured out. And hopefully at least get the get part working. And then if we get the get part working, that's usually a good place to start. We're going to try to get the set part working. If that works, awesome. Now we can try the update part and so on and so on and so forth. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to open a fresh VS Code here, and not my Teams, which I do not want to open. We're going to start with a fresh VS Code, and what I want to do is first, I have a repository, so I could just start with a folder on my desktop, but I'm a big believer these days, especially with how easy it's been, that if you have a new project, just start a new repository. If you have a GitHub account, they're free, set up a GitHub. If you want to use GitLab, all those, whatever, don't care. But revision control will set you free. If you just get practice to always using it, it will make your life so much better. And that's just my personal opinion, but a lot of people share it these days. So the way we're going to do this, I don't think, does this have all my extensions installed here, or did the thing that I did last presentation completely screw it up? It looks like they're mostly here. Okay, so it should be there. So I'm going to say GitHub should have a new repository option here. Or I may just have to make a folder and then publish it to GitHub. I don't think they do the new repository directly. No, okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and open a folder, go to my projects folder, which has all kinds of crap in it. We're going to make a new folder, and we're going to call this PSConf Vault Secret Provider. Secret Vault. Yeah, whatever. Naming things is hard. So we'll take that, we'll select that folder, and now we have a Visual Studio Code folder inside our folder. We got nothing in there, so we're just going to go ahead and start. Go ahead, I'm just going to do a git init here to get my git. Yeah, I know my Copilot's not set up because I'm completely in a different country and it doesn't like that. So now I got git's enabled, there we go. And then we're going to go ahead and from the beginning, go ahead and publish this to GitHub. So we'll publish just as a public repository. I'll probably have to make at least one commit. It might, no, I think it got it. Do I have a remote? Git remote -v. I do, so we'll go here. And there we go. We have a repository on GitHub. How long did that take me? Like 20 seconds. And I didn't even have to leave VS Code. Didn't have to use VS Code desktop. Didn't have to know much about Git. I did Git init, but you can just use the init function in VS Code 2 as well to do it. So we're already off to the races. We got a linked setup to GitHub, and now whatever we write, whenever we commit, our code's just being backed up every time we write it. So we can make change, save, make another change, save. If anything goes wrong anywhere along that line, we can go back to where we were. So let's go back to the. See, do I have it in my history here? I've been worn rotational magnets because I was showing that to somebody because they're really cool. Yeah, let's just go with the PowerShell secret management here. So in the secret management repository, this is the site. There's also a blog post for it. I know this is going to be tiny too. I'm sorry. So we're going to go through this instructions down here a little bit for Vault extension creation. So Vault extension registration. Excuse me. So a PowerShell Vault is kind of strange in the way that it's made. Basically what you do is you have your module. It kind of makes sense, it's just kind of like a kludgy implementation a little bit, but ultimately it was the best option. So when you make a PowerShell module, say you make a module for something like Bitwarden, some kind of key password manager. You don't have to make a completely separate module just for the Vault part. What you do is you implement what's called a nested module, which is like a module that's like a dependency, but it actually lives inside your module and it doesn't show up on the PowerShell gallery. And so inside that module, by doing that, that allows you to go ahead and write a command like get secret as a function and have it not conflict with all the other 500 get secrets out there. What happens is that secret management will see your module, it will see that you have specified this special kind of submodule, and then it will just simply pass through when somebody calls get secret, it fairly transparently just passes that get secret through into your module. So you just write get secret, and it makes it a pretty simple development process. There's a couple bumps along the way, which we'll probably run into. But as the options go, it's a pretty good option. If you've ever worked in any kind of more structured programming languages, this is very close to implementing an interface. So if you know what that means, this is kind of like the PowerShell version of it, but a little bit looser because PowerShell isn't as type strict for the kind of things that it does. But the good example of that is that we can hack away at it, and we don't have to fight the compiler the whole time to get it to work. So we'll go ahead and start with our module directory structure. Okay, so we want to have something that kind of starts like this, has kind of a nice basic infrastructure and has a PSD1 file. And you can see here you have command list export, you have kind of your typical commands that you'd have. If it's a binary module, if you're writing in C#, you reference the binary part of your code. We're not going to do that. We're just going to reference the regular PSM1. And it's just going to be empty. And then here under the command list export nested modules, this is where we make that subfolder here, this test vault extension. And this is where the meat's going to be. So I'm not going to usually I do like a whole scaffolding. I'll make public folders, private folders. I make a module thing and make it all load so it's easy to work with. We're going to skip all that. We're just going to write it all directly into the PSM1 file. So let's go back to VS Code. Let's go ahead and make a folder. And we'll call this PSConf secret. Let me get down here. What do I want to? We'll make this PSConf secret vault dot extension. So, and the key thing is this whole dot extension part. It's specifically looking for a nested module that has this name. So you can't name it PSSecret Vault dot my secret vault. It has to have this dot extension name. That's just a design decision that they made, and we all got to live with it. So it is what it is. And then the files inside have to have that same kind of strict naming convention. And that sort of helps it distinguish the fact your module from just any other random nested module. It's just sort of like a little sort of special magic thing that tells it, hey, this is a secret vault because it has this naming convention. And all that logic of where that exists, that all exists inside of secret management, the actual code. When you install the secret management extension, all that information's there. And again, it's all out here on this. And if you want to know exactly how it works, you got all the source code right here. You got to learn how to read C#, but it's all out there and you can see exactly how it works. It's not a black box at all. So we are 15 minutes in and we have one folder created. Hey, yeah? All right, we're doing good. So let's go ahead and create some of these other files here. We'll get down here, this area here, and see if I can get this aside. I'm going to go ahead and shrink that just a tiny bit, bring my vault over here, bring that over, and we'll get some other things created. So we need a PSD1 and a PSM1. So the PSM1 is not a big deal. We'll call this PSConf. And by the way, my O key is missing, and I'm literally closing the transistor to make it work. So if I stumble on my O's, let me know. PSConf secret vault dot extension. See, I did it again. O and dot PSD PSM1. So this will be this is going to be the bread and butter of our thing, but we also need a manifest. So you can create a manual manifest and cut and paste this in there. You can also do new dash module manifest. But we're going to go ahead and, at least for our base manifest here, which is our PSConf secret vault dot PSD1. This one has to have this referencing here. So we're going to take this, we'll paste it in here. We'll make our module version 0.0.1 because this is not ready for production at all. A thing here about this PS data tag. So that secret management tag, that's sort of become an agreed upon thing that when you publish to the PowerShell gallery, if you include that secret management tag, that means you're saying, hey, this thing's a secret management vault. And what that makes really handy is that if you want your module to be known, if I go out to PowerShell gallery, or if you see my lightning demo, we're going to go to pwsh.gallery. This is basically the PowerShell gallery fronted by Cloudflare. Check out my Lightning demo. It's totally fun. It was cooler when Cloudflare didn't go down yesterday, but anyhow. So we just have to search for secret management. And everything that has that tag, everything that is a secret management vault exists here. So this list looks like it's grown a little bit since the last time I've looked at it. But you got things for Key Vault, Secret Management, Secret Store, KeyPass, Vault. That name looks familiar. LastPass, Bitwarden, CyberArk, 1Password, Keychain, Chromium. That name looks familiar. Keeper, Keybase. Okay, great. We got lots of stuff in here. But there still could be more. I mean, like, there's so many places to store secrets, or places that you want to have a place where you don't want the secret stored in your script. API keys, any application that you're doing third party with. You're working with one of your customers and they have a custom built program and they require you to use an API key. You don't want to store that in the script, commit it up to GitHub, and have somebody who has a screen scraper find that, and now they've invaded your customer, and your customer comes to you to wring your neck. It's better to have some kind of thing to keep that in a vault and be able to use it that way. So all of these vaults, every single one of these, basically, at least as of the most recent version, followed this document the same way we're going to follow it today. So there's no black magic here. Anybody who made any of those, I bet if you go in their commit history, it probably looked like this to start. This is probably initial commit, unless they, were, writing it super fast, or we're doing it all offline before they uploaded. But I know at least with mine, like I got my more fancy scaffolding in here, but it basically looks like this, and it says initial commit. So don't be afraid to have this be your first commit. In fact, initial commit. And then we do that. And then for the first one, we're going to push that to match up to our main. I have a VS Code setting that every time I commit, it just automatically pushes, so I don't forget to do that. So if my laptop ever dies, I don't lose any work. Depending on your environment, you may or may not want to do that, but for this case, we do that. And so if we go back to my guy who is here, where did you go? I'll just go to my GitHub and find it. Come on, you can do it. It should just be right at the top of my repositories now. There it is, PSConf Secret Vault, updated 30 seconds ago. There's our initial commit. So you can see how easy it is, like just with any code, not just secret vaults. Your stuff, it's just an easy backup, but it's also out there, it's shared. But you can also see how it is you throw an API key out there, now anybody can see it. So maybe you make this private first, as you saw, the option to do private or public. And private are free for anybody, just like anybody else. And you develop it there, and then once you make sure you get all the kinks out, then you can make it public. All right, so we have this. We have a couple of command lists to export. We're actually going to take this out because we're not doing any of this kind of config stuff for this. We're just going to make it a typical vault. When you register a vault, basically the way that you register a vault is you register a vault with this word called register secret management vault, and the parameters have to be specified as a hash table. But that hash table is not discoverable at all. Like you'll see, in fact, that's why I wrote that register AZ key vault, because the only way to figure out how that works is pretty much to go into the source code unless you find an article on it. Like it's not discoverable at all. So what you end up having to do is you end up having to write a command like register that lets you put all that stuff in your command. So you can give them parameters and give them validation and all that stuff. And then on the back end, once they fill in all that information for you, you just call the command that has that hash table. But we're going to skip that part for today. So we have that. We have our nested module. We need to rename this to PSConf Secret Vault. Our root module we're going to have a root module here that's just going to be empty. PSConf Secret Vault.psm1. Right, -debug. I think it might work. Usually your PSM1 shouldn't have anything that outputs, but we're just doing this for fun. We got that, and we will point this, our root module, to PSConf, if it will let me edit. There we go. PSConf secret vault.psm1. And we have our nested module here, but we got to update this path too. If I had a working O key, I'd probably do a little bit more find and replace than I'm doing right now, and you specify the individual folder. You don't specify the module itself. It'll just go ahead and find it because it's got the same name. All right, any typos? Last call, looks good to me. I'm just going to leave this here even though it's basically not doing anything. Save that. As always, we'll test it as soon as we make a change. Import IPMO, this guy. Copy, where's my relative path? Did I not leave a... Let's see, we're in the folder. It's not loaded because no module could be found. Did I mistype that? Any capitals am I missing? Okay, I just didn't have the dot in there. Okay, so that looks good. We'll make sure our debug thing worked. I think so. Dash debugs. I don't even know if import modules work with the debug part. Maybe not. Let's try this a different way. Let's be really bad. There. Where's the live by? Don't ever do this in an import of a module. Everybody will hate you. Oh, you know what I bet it is? Let's try force. Okay, there we go. So when I import, every time you import my module, you get this. So that's really fun, isn't it? Especially when if 1,000 people did this and every time you started up your script, all this stuff came up. Yeah, don't do this. But we're doing it here for an example to test that our thing works. Okay, we're looking good there. And so in our PSM1 here, we can also do a write host. Don't do this either, but at least nested imported. There we go. So don't do this. Don't do this. So now we know, just with a quick test, and we can also use the debugging to make sure that everything is loading right. But as you can see, what's happening is that the module is loading, and now it's going in to load our little extension module. And that's what Secret Vault is going to use. So we've got that. And of course, before we go any further, we want to make ourselves a conf secret vault.extension.tests.ps1, because we all love Pester, and Pester makes a lot of this stuff really easy to do. In fact, we'll go ahead and just bring that up to the top here, because we want to test our extension as in the way that the module is actually going to be used. So we'll actually want to have it at the top level so that when we work with it, we want to test the cases that the user is going to do. We want to test that they're going to get a secret and what that get secret command looks like when it gets passed through the command. We can test the lower level code with unit tests, but ultimately we want to test here because we want to test the user experience. And the rest of it is basically an implementation detail. If we end up changing the back end, we want to make sure that when they do get secret, they get the secret that they want. So we'll go ahead and describe PSConf. How are we doing? I don't think that timer is accurate. Oh yeah, no, we're doing pretty good. Okay, so let's do describe. Let's just do describe vault. It works. Before all, I'm just going to put a couple placeholders real quick. Register the vault temporarily. Then after all, come on, unregister the vault. So this is a good way to do a test when you're testing a vault, because what you'll have is you'll have your code and you want it to be kind of like blank. So you'll just want to register it with some random name. And then you're going to want to get the secret from that new random named vault you created. And then once it's done, then you want it to remove that vault again so that you don't have like a leftover artifact in your environment. This isn't perfect. Like if you're doing this for real, you're going to use try, catch, and finally and stuff to make sure that it really goes away. Because like if I interrupt the script halfway, it's not going to get cleaned up. But this kind of gives you an idea of like a basic scaffolding of just a very simple test that it works. And it's going to be something where we do something like get secret, something dash vault. This will come from before all. Yeah, come on. We'll do this in two parts. We'll do this is the secret, and then we'll have something like secret should be my Pester secret. Pipe convert to secure string if we're looking for a secure string, or however that secret's going to come through. There's a simple test. Now this is something that you're probably used to doing on the command line. But if you write it into a test, then now you just have it, and every time you go through, you can just do invoke Pester. So you don't have to go through and test every little piece of code individually. You just run your tests. And so by writing them first, with test-driven development, I'm kind of back and forth on it, but at least for this kind of example, we can at least kind of get an idea of like where we're going to start. And we'll just go through and we'll modify this test till it works once we add our additional code for building a secret. And then we will, and then we'll just go from there. And once we have a whole set of tests, then when we go to change something, which is really important when you're changing secrets, like people are expecting your module to be able to fetch a secret and do that consistently. If you need to change something in your code, if you have a test that shows that, hey, whenever you run this command and you don't have any side effects, it's still going to return the same thing, then you can feel really confident that you probably didn't break your code. It's never foolproof. But it's a lot better than just YOLOing it, sending it out there, and then you find out that somebody got an exception on your thing, and all of a sudden you just broke their entire pipeline. And now you got to panic and like get a new thing out there, whereas you could have just tested it transparently and let PowerShell do all the work of having to go through all those commands you usually type manually. So we got that. Any questions so far, by the way? This is kind of like a very typical scaffolding. It's a little bit weird with the whole nested module thing, but if you've ever made a PowerShell module, or even if you haven't, this should be kind of like not that weird. Like we're pretty much just writing scripts at this point. Sound good? Awesome. Okay. So let's go ahead and see if we can get at least our first command written before we run out of time. So the first thing in the instructions is we want to make a thing called get secret. And so the instructions will explain each of the different kind of things. Let me go ahead and just blow that up all the way here. And these instructions were written by Paul Higginbotham, the guy at Microsoft who actually wrote the secret store extension. And like he has a Twitter handle, so like, you know, if you can't figure something out, sometimes he'll answer. Sometimes he won't, but you know, that's how we all are. So we've got this part done. All right, check. Some stuff about binary modules, we don't care. Okay, now we want to do our extension part. So the way that this works is very similar to the other one, except we're not nesting a module this time. So this should look more like a regular traditional module. And of course, you can fill in all the other stuff, your copyright, your license file, all that stuff. That can come later, but this is like the bare bones that you need. So we'll define a module version. We typically like to keep the module versions between the nested module and the main one in sync, but no one's ever going to see this nested one unless they're doing like low-level me stuff on your module. So, you can make that number whatever you want. Then the root module, that's again, that PSM one that we made, that's going to be your actual code. And then we have the functions to export. So this is key. So at the functions to export point, let's bring that back up here. Sorry, I lost it. There we go. Okay, so this part right here, this is key. This is you telling secret management what functions your command supports. So like if you only support getting secrets, then you only export that command. If you only support, maybe you support setting secrets, but you don't support removing secrets, you don't export that command. And that tells secret management to, basically it'll end up hitting the same. It'll do like a not implemented exception. So ideally you implement everything, but this is sort of like the basics. And then what each of these commands are is explained up here. But kind of the key ones that are always good to implement I feel in order is you first start with test secret vault. That's a new command that was added before it went fully GA. That just lets somebody be like, if you have a, let's say like KeyPass, or even better like, something like Bitwarden where it's like out on a server somewhere. Test secret vault lets, by default when you register a secret vault, it doesn't actually test that you can actually get to that secret. Like if you put in the wrong password, it's just going to say, all right, it's registered. So keep that in mind is that when you go to register, the reason they did that was like if you're setting up pipelines or CI, like you don't want to test it at that point. It's going to slow down your pipeline if you're not going to use it. So they separated those two parts out. They made it so you can register, and then they made it so that you can test it whenever you want to test it at a point. So test secret vault just basically is, they just call test secret vault. They don't specify anything else. And then it comes to your command, and then it's up to you to say, okay, it's this person, it's this vault. They've registered it with these parameters. I can do whatever I want. All I got to do is return true. So you could just type return true and then, okay, it always works. But ideally what you do is you actually like make a REST call, using their credentials, do some kind of test connection to make sure that that vault actually works. And if not, emit helpful error messages back to tell them, hey, you probably forgot your password, or we got a 401 error. Did you go to this site and read this article to check that your permissions are correct? It really helps to give the user some hints about what they need to do, especially with like common errors that they might make. Then once you implement that test secret vault, then all the other commands, I always like to have all the other commands reference that first. So if I do a get secret, it's going to call test secret vault first. Because what that makes me do is if somebody just does register and then they do a get secret, or they're in a fresh script, every time they go to get it, it's going to make sure that the connection works. And then you can cache that result. Like, if you do a test secret and it takes like, 400 milliseconds to go out, make that call, and come back. You can just cache that result in like a script scope variable and say, okay, we got our secret result. We're ready to go forward. We can, for like the next 60 seconds, just go fast. We're just going to trust that it's okay. But again, don't worry about any of that kind of stuff like at this level, but these are just sort of like some tips and tricks to make your module like helpful and not feel like, oh, this thing is slow. Every time I do a get secret, it's sitting there forever, Once you get, and I said get secret, I meant get secret info is the good first one. So info and secret are different in terms of info is just getting the metadata of the secret, whereas get secret is getting the actual secret. This is pretty helpful with certain separation of duties things where if you want to make sure a secret exists, but you don't actually need the rights to go get it. Like in a development environment, you don't actually need that secret, you just need to test that it's there for a test. I'm going to stop explaining the commands because like 90% of the people in here rose their hand, they know what secret management is. I assume you've probably seen some of this, so we'll just move forward. So here's an example of example get secret and get secret info. So we're going to hop down here. So even though this is at the bottom, I think this one should be at the top. So the way this function is structured, let's take it and let's just ape it into our command because good artists borrow and great artists steal outright. So that's what we're going to do. Paste that in there. Oh, we forgot to do our PSD one. Sorry, I skipped a step. So let's go back up here. Take this guy here for our test extension. And we'll make a new DLL. I usually don't recommend you do this by hand. You should use the new module manifest command, but because it's basically already been written for us, we're going to take a little shortcut. Come on, o.psd1. All right, we're going to make this 001 again as well. Root module is the same. Perfect. We'll just rename that part. PSConf secret vault. Required assemblies. We don't have any required assemblies, so we can take that out. Because again, we're making a script module this time, not a binary module. And the functions that we want to have available. I'm actually going to do this real quick so that I can very easily get that there. Take these out. And this just makes it really easy for me to just sort of selectively have a checklist of what I've done and what I haven't. Oops. So I can take test secret vault, put it up there, and we'll just comment all this other stuff out for now to remember to do. In fact, I can add a to do over here. Come on, O. Come on, O. There you go. Too many O's in this sentence. All right. And if is my to-do tree here? There it is. So this is a fun extension real quick. To-do tree, if you do things like to-do or fix me, it'll give you a nice little place to remember to go back to do that stuff, so you can go back and clean all that stuff up. Really helpful if you just want to get something done, and then I'm going to go back and fix this stuff. And also, don't mention all my repositories that are like 3 years old and have 50 of these in them. You will do better than I do. Do as I say, not as I do. So we will go ahead and go here to our, so that one we don't even care about anymore. I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to pin him because we're going to be coming back to him a bunch. So I want to have him up front as we do things. All right, so we got our test secret vault. And you see it takes two parameters. It takes the vault name and then it takes this hash table called additional parameters. And so the thing about additional parameters is literally that. Like it is completely up to you. It's a hash table that's like, this is the stuff that you care about your vault having that is going to help you enable it. So if you need them to pass a URL, if you need them to pass an API key, if you need to have them pass a hint, if you need to have them pass a path to a file that you're going to unlock, whatever you need, it's up to you. Anything you want, that you just define it as a hash table and you have it here. A handy thing that you can do that's really nice is you can always make a class for this. You know, you can make a class myParameters and then tie that to the hash table, and then you'll get IntelliSense for it later. So if you make I'm not going to do it in this one, but you make a class that says this hash table needs to have these three things, then when it comes through, at this point, you can be able to reference additional parameters, and you can do dot, and rather than get the hash table syntax here, you get whatever those individual parameters are. The IntelliSense in VS Code, if you haven't used it recently, has been completely rewritten by some super smart guys who work on it now. If you haven't tried it lately, definitely check it out. After tangent number 237, we're just going to do return true on this because we're not actually going to test anything. But typically this is the point, like if I'm going to write an example like writing a JSON file, my additional parameters should be the path to the JSON file. And maybe this code here, well, let's screw it, let's try it. additional parameters, and then if I like to do exclusions rather than inclusions, so if additional parameters.path is actually I'm going to do this a little bit different way, a little bit strong. String is null or empty. This is kind of a .NET-y thing that's not super PowerShell-y, but it's a really easy way to make sure, 1, that it's a string, 2, that it's not null, 3, that it's not empty. There's ways to do this in PowerShell like -any or null-any, but there's like edge cases that this just makes it really easy to make sure, hey, we got a string, but it wasn't blank. So if it is that, then throw, you forgot. Okay, well, I'll be nicer with my error messages, not as snide as I usually am. We'll just do that just for fun. And that's got too long, so we'll make that a new line. So what that'll do is that if you supply an empty path, it can fail. And this is a good thing to test on. I don't think I'm going to have time to go through like writing a full test for that, but the idea is like you would test pass in an empty string and make sure that's the error that you get back. Like that's a good test to write, because then you can make sure if you move stuff around and that test suddenly gets commented out or it goes after a code that ends up not checking it, you can know that, oh, whatever I did broke that test and it's not going to give that feedback to the user. So we got those, and we can return true otherwise, and we'll just go ahead and again, we're going to be bad here because this is just for demoing. Foreground green, they gave me a file. Okay, so we can take this guy, copy path. And at this point testing, you still have to test there, but I think I can register the secret vault at this point. So register secret vault. That's module name. I believe I can specify the PSD at this point. Dash. I think it might have to go in the modules folder. We're going to find out. I'm a little rusty on this. We'll find out. Name, PSConf. And then vault parameters. And here's some things, the syntax kind of, like it says vault parameters here, but it comes in as additional parameters. There's a little bit of like syntaxy, like some of the names don't quite line up. So definitely be careful of that. That's a big gotcha, is like sometimes it's vault name here, but it's name there when it's passing through. Just make sure you line up the parameters. You don't say vault name when it's really supposed to be name in this. Just be very careful in the documentation. Whatever it says in there, do that. And if that bothers you, then go look at my other modules, and you'll see where I just put aliases on everything. So I idiot-proof the script for myself. It'll just take both. So we have that, and that should be good. So vault parameters, let's just try it without it first and see if it works. Get secret function not found. Okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to stub out then. Yeah, so I think you have to implement at least a bare minimum of these. So we'll do get secret. Bring him up so that my bad syntax highlighting doesn't broke it. And so we'll do function get secret throw. Come on, O, you can do it. Don't fail me now. Throw not supported exception. That's not implemented is what we want. Implemented exception. Nice try. And we'll see how many of these we got to do before it lets me do it. Oh, fine. You want a name. Fine. This might be the rest of our time is just getting the scaffolding together, but yeah, you want vault name. Fine. Again, it's all about the iteration. So what would be really nice is if I had a pester test that just checked all this for me as far as the meta, and then I should just write that. So okay, once all my tests pass, then I'm like, okay, I've implemented everything I'm supposed to implement rather than have to run it over and over again. Okay, so I want set secret too, fine. Set secret. I know some of these are not going to be there, but we'll see if it's close enough. I think it... Huh? Oh, you're right. I got to go uncommented. Thank you. Let's just go ahead and take all these off right now. We'll do them one at a time just to be safe. When it's a hash table like that, you actually don't need a comma. Excuse me, when it's an array like that, you don't need a comma. So I'm missing the secret parameter. So with the set secret, you're going to get this thing where $secret. And this is where basically the user has supplied you the secret that you want. And again, it's constrained to a few types if you read the article. Like you're going to want to do a test to make sure it's one of these very specific types. And then you want to say, like, if it's a byte array, maybe you throw like a not implemented exception. Maybe you only accept strings as your or secure strings for your passwords. But it's going to come in as a secret. But again, once it comes in as $secret, then you do whatever you want. You can take that thing and write it to the host saying, haha, I know your secret. Like whatever you want to do. But obviously, like you're going to probably take that secret and then call whatever API you're going to do that says set, Bitwarden, bitwarden.com/API/set secret using the API key that they registered to then write that secret in. So, but again, it's very loose on purpose. It's basically what's called an interface, where it's a very generic way to give you the information you want, and then you can do whatever you want with it in order to implement whatever you need to do. What's with the non-exception 0? I don't even think that's a thing. You want additional parameters too. Of course you do. All right, moving on. Let's get the next one. How are we doing? We got 4 minutes. We're going to get a whole thing installed that doesn't do anything. It'll be perfect. All right. Well, now that I have a general idea of what it's going to get mad at me for, let's just take those out. Let's try remove secret. But this checking is good because it helps you from shooting yourself in the foot. Better to know now that you forgot to implement something than when you ship it and somebody tries that one function you didn't try and it just errors on them and they're like, your module sucks. Remove secret. Get secret info. All right. Hey, I got that one the first try. Get secret info. And use filter. Okay, so get secret info takes this filter parameter. And again, it's just a string. It's whatever you want the filter to be. So some of my modules have a filter that are different than others depending on what's appropriate to them. You could have like a KQL syntax. You could have, whatever syntax it supports. OData, if you just want to have a keyword syntax, if you just want it to be a like match where you type like, get secret info, mysec star, and it'll get mysecret1 and mysecret2, mysecret3. Again, all of that's up to you. It just gives you a string, and then you do whatever you want with it. You can do nothing with it, but that's just how that interface works. But the user is expecting if they type filter, you're going to provide, hey, whoa, we got it. All right, registered. We got a vault. All right, so there's our vault. There is our vault ready to go. There is a different vault that you don't care about. Pretend you didn't see that. So now we can try what did I implement? So all these other ones basically are throwing not implemented. So this would be a good time to test secret vaults since we have that one there. Test secret vault -vault. And if you don't specify a vault name, it'll use what the is default vault if you specified that. Otherwise, it can tend to search all of them. So you tend to want to be specific. So test secret vault -name PSConf. Why did it give me false? Did I throw something here? Is there anything that I forgot? I don't think so. Okay, so now we get to the debugging part. So basically, it was unable to run the command for whatever reason. We could probably look at our error stack, but we're just going to try debugging it. So we're going to put a pound here. We're going to go run. I'm going to start this PS interactive. This is just my own version of the run interactive session. It's just a version that basically it starts it up and now it's debugging anything. And now if I get PS break, sorry. You're probably right, but the thing is, this is one of those gotchas. Here, I auto-completed this. If I control space, it is name here, but when it comes through to your function, it's vault name. So it's one of those things where I got mad at Paul for this. I was just like, it should all be consistent, but it was already too late. Like all the interfaces had been defined. So I was like, oh well, that's your problem. The user never sees it. So this is a case where, again, one of those things will trip you up. If you do your test secret vault and you set the parameter here as name, it's not going to match. And it should, so at this, I probably should explain at this point. When you do test secret vault, you're calling command test secret. If I didn't, actually, I bet I might know what the problem is. Okay, good. That's not what I think it is. Okay, so if I do this and I go FL here. So the test secret vault that you're calling is the secret management DLL version. So by calling that, what it's then doing is it's going in there and calling into that nested prompt. And so it's not actually calling your test secret vault. And when it calls yours, it changes that name to vault name. So when it calls your function, in fact, we're out of time. I'm just going to do this one debug so you can see that. It'd be great if we could get this to go right at the buzzer, but we'll find out. So I'm going to start this. We're going to try that again. We're going to do a, where'd my breakpoints go? Run, git, oh, I forgot about this bug, sorry. Git PS breakpoint. It's there, good. Run, test secret vault. Okay, so something in my implementation is not happy about it. So it's at a very low level. So we didn't get there, but. So the name of this is supposed to be the name of what I named the vault. So the PSConf secret vault is the name of the module that I made. But when you make a secret vault, you can name it whatever you want. So I'm just basically telling it, I want to test this specific vault. I should have made that a little more clear, sorry. All right, well, I think we're out of time. So we made it pretty far. We did pretty good. So we got a vault. We have that there. This is kind of a generic error that will happen if there's something kind of missing. So the next step that I would normally take is just go into this and just make sure that my test secret vault, all the parameters line up, that kind of thing. But ideally at this point, if I did test secret vault, it's going to come into this function. It's going to run this. I'm going to have my variables. I can test against my additional parameters. It'll throw this if it fails. And otherwise, it'll give me a file. Actually, you know what? I wonder if the throw is doing it. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's restart session. And if we get really, really lucky. Hey, there you go. I forgot. So I forgot. If you throw a terminate, this is another gotcha. It's in the README. I totally forgot about it because I haven't done this in like a year. If you throw a terminating error, it will catch it and rewrite it with that generic error to be helpful to the user. I think that's not helpful at all. So you got to throw non-terminating errors if you want something to actually reach the user. If you don't think that's the way it should be, I'm sure I have a complaint in the issues. Go upvote that one. Anyhow, thank you very much. Hopefully you can use this to start building your own modules.